We are going to now move on to our next speaker, Dr. Olivia Ong, who I know is here in the room, which is great. Dr. Olivia is, she's got up early before the kiddies wake up, which is always a very good plan. So I've got to try and stay on time. I'm running a little bit late. Sorry about that. She is an esteemed pain and rehabilitation physician and an expert in burnout and resilience. And so how wonderful that a doctor is actually an expert in that, because we need it so much. But her life story is going to amaze you. She's also an international award-winning best-selling author, a TEDx speaker, a global keynote speaker, award-winning physician, entrepreneur, healthcare leader. And in 2008, after a life-altering accident, Olivia was told that she would actually never walk again and never practice medicine again. So how crushing would that be for a doctor? After years as a patient in hospitals and rehab in Sydney and the US, she fought to walk again and even resumed her medical career. So incredible. Congrats and excitement for Dr. Olivia. And today she shares her journey to motivate and inspire others. And she's driven by her own experience. And she can now work as a coach and a mentor for doctors dealing with burnout, dealing with challenges. And she's been able to author other books on that. And I'm going to introduce her to you now. Welcome to the summit, Dr. Olivia.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my talk today on the joy of burnout. And I'm incredibly excited about what I'm going to be sharing with all of you today. And burnout is essentially what happens when we try to avoid being human for too long. And I've been there, and I'll be sharing my story of burnout in a little while. But burnout's not a place where you want to stay there for too long, because life, as we know, is here for us to live to the fullest. And I want to show all of you how we can recover from this burnout. So over the years, I've had the good fortune of helping more than 300 doctors thrive after burnout. Now I've extended my coaching, burnout coaching, to working women. And I've gone to also become the recipient of multiple awards for my education and coaching company, the Heart-Centered Method Institute Private Limited. But during that time, I discovered there are three core problems, or rather three core symptoms of burnout. And you might want to write you might want to write them down. The first symptom is exhaustion. Second symptom is depersonalization. And the third symptom is lack of self-efficacy. And I'll explain in a little while what they mean. So why do all of you need to know about burnout right now? Well, I've done lots of research on it. And when you type on Google, or maybe ChatGPT now, a quick internet search will bring up talks and articles. You know, when you want to research burnout, there'll be articles, talks on beating burnout, stopping it before it starts, curing it, and even just surviving it. But as individuals, we can't stop, beat, or cure burnout. It would be nice if we could, but burnout isn't a personal failing, something that we can switch on or off based on our personal choices alone. It's also a result of broad systemic issues way beyond our control. In fact, a 2023 Women's Agenda Australia study showed that major factors leading to burnout in the workplace included discrimination, challenges with management, and pay disparity. So in the medical field where I am, at any given moment, over 70% of medical practitioners are experiencing burnout. And surprised, but I'm also not surprised either, more than half of those burnt out doctors, nurses, and healthcare staff are actually women. And we all know that women have a huge mental load in not only working full-time in our respective businesses, but we have to look after children, right? And even looking after elderly parents and things like that. But it's not just the medical industry. People, especially women, as I said, are suffering from burnout, not just medical. Law enforcement industry, teachers are burnt out, lawyers, entrepreneurs, business owners, and even hospitality workers. And while we can't eradicate burnout, what we can do is slow it down. So what is the origin of burnout? So burnout is a trending topic, but it's not new. So back in the 1970s, researcher Christina Maslach constructed a 22-question survey which became known as the Man's-like Burnout Inventory, or MBI. And the MBI identifies 3 symptoms of burnout, which I've just mentioned. So exhaustion is the first symptom. I think someone in the chat is asking about burnout, exhaustion, sorry. And then, yeah, exhaustion is when you feel extremely tired. You're extremely tired and unable to recover. Things are either chronically miserable or on a downward trajectory. Chronically miserable sounds pretty bad, isn't it? The second symptom is depersonalization. This is an unfeeling or impersonal attitude towards the people you're meant to serve. In short, when you are burnt out, you just don't care. Your ability to empathize with anyone nosedives, really. And the third symptom is lack of self-efficacy. This symptom manifests when you begin to doubt the purpose of the work you do. You just kind of stop believing in yourself. And I think the question is, how do you thrive from burnout? So let's think about burnout in terms of 3 core energy accounts, like a bank account for your brain and body. So earlier on, I mentioned the 3 symptoms when it comes to burnout: exhaustion, depersonalization, sorry, exhaustion, depersonalization, and lack of self-efficacy. So your 3 core energy accounts correspond to each of these 3 symptoms. So let's first look at exhaustion and your physical energy account. So we all have a physical body, and we have to take care of it. When we don't, when we sleep and eat poorly, work too many hours, especially if we're sitting at our desk the whole time, that's when our physical energy account gets overdrawn and we experience physical exhaustion. And the next symptom described by the MBI is depersonalization, when you just stop caring. When your emotional energy account has a low balance, you just can't be emotionally present for others. It's that thing about not pouring from an empty cup, right? So if your emotional energy account is low, or maybe even has a negative balance, it's probably because your own emotional needs aren't being met. You might feel cynical, sarcastic, and irritable towards others and towards yourself because your emotional needs aren't being met, right? You fill this energy account by having adequate time for the important relationships in your life. So the question I want to ask all of you here is, are you spending enough time with the people you love? Or can you think of a number of people you like to spend more time with, and it just never happens? So for most high-achieving professionals like us, there's a huge imbalance between the time you spend at work and the time you like to spend with your children, friends, significant other, and family. So have a think about that question, okay? Then we have lack of self-efficacy. That's when you stop believing in yourself, your work, and your purpose. It sounds like you need a big deposit to your spiritual energy account. And I want to separate the concepts of spirituality. And I'm referencing here from any type of religious practice. If you have a religious practice that comforts you, please keep it up. And I think some of the speakers here were talking about grace and, Christianity and God-led. And I'm a Christian, and I do, like Christianity has kept me going. And if you have a particular religious practice, just keep it up. But when I use the word spirituality here, I'm talking about your week-to-week connection with a sense of purpose and meaning in your work and your life. You make a deposit into your spiritual energy account when you feel that connection between what you're doing and your purpose, when what you're doing feels like what you're meant to be doing in this lifetime. You are making the difference you were here to make with the people you're meant to help or serve. So one experience of being connected with your purpose that gives you energy in this account could be like experiences which include coaching your children's soccer team or netball team, volunteering to teach kids to read, overseas medical missions, or anything that feeds your spirit. So you can structure your life to increase the frequency of these experiences too. So like most people, my burnout happened gradually. It was accumulative. So from my childhood to an academic overachiever, to striving to walk again after a devastating spinal cord injury, to pushing hard through my medical career, basically my whole life was burnout. And in 2019, I fell face flat. This time it wasn't because of my legs. And I was in the throes of severe burnout. I was exhausted. I had insomnia. And my usual bubbly and optimistic attitude had diminished into cynicism and sarcasm. So all my 3 core energy bank accounts were overdrawn. Maybe I was paying a lot of interest at that time as well. I was a horrible person to be around. At that time, I was working full-time as a pain physician. I just had finished my pain fellowship exams, what in the US they call board certifications. And I was juggling motherhood with a 3-year-old boy as well as my own physical disability. And people will say, wow, Olivia, you're superwoman. I don't know how you do it. And they'll also say, I just don't know how you manage it all. The truth is, I didn't know how I did it either, and I still don't. And I remember at that time, my energy and well-being reached dangerously low levels. And the combination of living with a spinal cord injury, motherhood, full-time work, and studying intensively for the pain fellowship exams had exhausted me. I was just so tired. That was an overdraft notice from my physical energy account. I started withdrawing and disconnecting from the people around me. As I said, I was cynical, sarcastic towards people around me, including my kids, my partner. Depersonalization, a message from my emotional energy account. I wondered how much longer I could go on like this, barely holding it together at a job I no longer felt passionate about. I started feeling disconnected from my purpose as a doctor. This is lack of self-efficacy, symptom number 3. A warning message from my spiritual energy account. So all 3 of Maslow's symptoms showed up for me. All 3 of my energy accounts were in the negative. And as I said, I was paying probably interest as well at that time. So the thing is, despite the severe burnout, I had visions of, the physician and mother I wanted to be. And I've always longed and desired to work the hours in my clinical practice and spend quality time with my kids. I wanted to be present with him when I wasn't at work. And burnout is one of those things that when it happens, it really wounds the soul. But the thing is, when that happens, there's also that grit, like the theme of the summit today, the grit and the grace. There's something within you that goes, you definitely can get out of this. You've get out of worse things than burnout, and I'm sure you can do it this time. And I deep down, I knew that there must be a way that I could build my career and feel good about it while growing my family. And I knew that there had to be a way for me to become the leader and the mother I envisioned without all this physical, emotional, and spiritual exhaustion of burnout. So the truth is, here, my story of recovery from burnout I didn't start meditating straight away, or I didn't become a Zen master, pretty much early on. It started from a place of, maybe I do need to check in what my basic human needs are and just fulfill them. And I just need to look after and care for myself. And then I'll be able to care for my family and to provide for them. Because if I wasn't okay, we weren't okay. And I needed to be okay, but I wasn't. From that point of falling face flat from burnout, the only possible way was up. I had to recover from burnout, actually figure out, hey, how am I going to make burnout actually work for me in the future? So burnout working for you instead of against you. And you may be wondering, huh? You see, we're getting closer to the joy of burnout. And I realized 3 things after my whole burnout experience. Number 1, I had to be 100% responsible for myself. There were a lot of things I couldn't control. Big institutional systemic issues in healthcare. I couldn't control that, but I could control my own choices. 2, it was time for me to up the ante on self-compassion. And I did a whole TEDx talk about that. And self-compassion it's essentially being your own best friend. And the 3rd thing I realized was, in order to gain wisdom and learnings from my burnout experience, I would have to appreciate burnout. You must be going, yeah, I know, right? When you're in burnout, how can you even think about appreciating burnout? But it's true. These 3 personal development tools self-empowerment, self-compassion, and self-appreciation. They taught me how to thrive at home and in my medical practice and heal from burnout. And these 3 tools essentially embodies grit and grace, which is the theme of this summit. And I just want all of you to have to think about how you can make, if you are in burnout right now or you're close to burning out, think about where you're at with your 3 energy accounts and how you can make any deposits to those accounts. When you do that, you can slow down your burnout, keeping us healthy longer, developing more time, freedom, better work-life balance, and become significantly more connected to our life's true purpose. And if you all enjoyed this talk today, I'd love to answer some questions here. And if you'd like to know that more topic on burnout, you can definitely sign up for my newsletter on my website, which I think Annie will be providing later on. If not, it'll be drolivialeeong.com. I have a newsletter all about burnout if you're interested in this topic. So yeah, thank you so much. Happy to answer some questions here. And I think there are some questions here. What are 3 burnout recovery steps from Lauren? And Lauren, as I mentioned, that's the 3 symptoms of burnout that I was talking about from Christina Meslak, who did the extensive research on burnout. She's an organizational psychologist. The first symptom is exhaustion. That's when you feel physically and emotionally exhausted. You just feel depleted of energy. You feel like you've just got nothing else to give. And the second symptom is depersonalization. That's when you start to disconnect. This disconnection from yourself and from the people around you. In a nutshell, it's disconnection from life. And the third symptom, which is I think the most devastating symptom of all, and that's what gets a lot of my coaching clients who are doctors and other healthcare professionals, and now even working women, coming to see me, is when they start questioning their meaning and life purpose on this earth. Because we're all here, we're mission-driven, heart-centered, business owners and entrepreneurs and speakers, authors. And when you start questioning what you do, on this earth, that's when it really is quite scary. I guess it's more like an existential crisis, perhaps. And that's when they seek external help, like coaching, mentoring, or even getting spiritual, practices and things like that. Yeah.
Much, Dr. Olivia. Oh, this whole topic has just opened up, our minds to go, yeah, actually, how am I going? It's amazing how you can be half burnt out, 3/4 wiped out before you actually can acknowledge even the symptoms of, oh, this is bad, because we are just total soldiers as women, aren't we? And and it's not good. It's not good that we self-sacrifice.
Exactly.
And so the whole concept that you can be in burnout and going, I want to be thankful for it. With everything, I love perspective is everything, isn't it? And that when you can actually become aware of it and know all of its symptoms and how to then overcome, I mean, that's a great thing, because not only are you going to get through this bender, you're also going to ride the next waves. I've got many clients that I have that just every few months they go through another burnout. It's a cycle, right?
Exactly.
So you're actually showing us that there are clearly ways that you can beat that cycle, and definitely if this whole topic has resonated with you, definitely I encourage you to reach out to Dr. Olivia, because she is a pro.